So this is our second session in our three-part series, all related to open educational resources, or as we popularly say, OERs. Today, we're going to really dive deeper into navigating them, where to locate them, and honestly, how to give credit to these resources. Similarly, as you would in writing a paper with APA citation. So I'm Jenna Cinnamon. I'm an instructional designer at the Stanton campus, and I'm really excited to be joining Dr. Laura Thompson for Lunch and Learn. Thank you guys for joining us, and we really look forward to hearing from you throughout this presentation. A lot of familiar names in this session right now. We know OERs are a big push here at the university to reduce student costs, so we're glad that you're vested in this as well. So we're going to start with our session overview, and we're going to first start by recapping what we discussed last session. We know that not everyone can attend all of the lunch and learns, so we want to give you some context about what are OERs before we get started today. Then we're going to focus on where you can find high quality OERs. And there's so many resources out there, and we also have a resource that we'll provide you at the end of today's session. And then finally, we're going to talk about how to properly attribute OERs to ensure that we're following best practices and honestly respecting the work of others as we use them in our own courses.
We're going to start off with a little recap of the last session that we had about the OERs in case you missed it or you need a refresher. So we're going to go into that session recap. One of the things that we talked about in that last session about OERs was how they are freely accessible. And we also talked about how that really translates into being freely available. They are more available to students. They're online resources, and we can make sure that there is accessibility built into them for students who might need those other types of accommodations or supports for being able to look at the materials. But I do like the word available. And they are openly licensed, so they are able to be used and reused and mixed. Sometimes those licenses might be restrictive of that, so you do want to make sure that you are considerate of the license, and we'll talk more about those. But the majority of them are easily reused. And they're available in diverse formats. So we might find books, textbooks. We often think of OERs as textbooks, but there are also videos or interactive learning objects out there. We sometimes call those ILOs. Or there could be lots of articles or other materials that we could use in our courses that could help enhance and enrich the learning of our students. Now it's time for the quiz show. Woo! It's ready for the quiz show. So be ready in the chat because we're going to have questions for you, the quiz show. And if you weren't here last time, don't worry. I put in scaffolding supports in there so that you can still participate. Okay? All right, excellent. Here we go. Here we go. First question. Oh, wait, I forgot. I put this one in here too to help you. We're going to talk. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. This symbol is a CC symbol. It's a Creative Commons license symbol. What does it mean? Does it mean CC BY, CC share alike, CC non-commercial, or CC no derivatives? So what do you think? Which one do you think it could be? I see some answers coming into the chat. Oh, I see an applause for an answer in the chat too. Excellent, excellent. Yes, I am seeing share alike as the big one here. Jenna, how about, let's see, what's the answer? Share alike. Yes, this is the share alike. That little circular thing helps you remember that we're sharing it again, we're sharing it again, we're sharing it again. And if someone says that it's a CC share alike, that means that if there are adaptations made to that resource, it still has to be shared as a share alike. They want to continue that and pay it forward. Okay, next one. Okay, this one, is this a CC BY, a CC share alike, a CC non-commercial, or a CC no derivatives? What do you think? What do you think? Terrific, terrific. And I see Brave individuals who are giving a different answer than what's seen in the chat. Good job, good job. We will have to say that this one is a CC BY. This one is a CC BY. Credit must be given to the creator. The creator, this little person represents that creator. I don't know. It's a pretty good symbol, I guess, but maybe we could have something just a little more diverse there. I don't know, but still, it's a CC BY. It's a CC BY. We're just saying, okay, this was done by these people.
Can I add, Dr. Thompson, that
yes,
with
please.
this one, it's the least restrictive. So if something is simply CC BY, and this is the only symbol with it, we really have the freedom to do almost anything with it. We're still going to give credit, but we can distribute it, we can remix it, we can adapt it. And all we need to do is give them credit. We don't even need to share it in the same licensing realm as them. So this is the least restrictive CC option.
Thank you for adding that. All right, here comes the next one. Is this symbol CC BY, CC share alike? I mean, maybe we've already had those, so we know it's not those. Is it either non-commercial or is it no derivatives? Which one do you think? Non-commercial or no derivatives? And this is testing your vocabulary, I guess. If you know what derivatives mean, I guess. Oh, look at that, look at that. Yes, yes. What is it, Jenna? Woo! It is no derivatives. And I love we have equal means should be the same. Yes. So derivatives are when we would change it, there would be derivations on the product. So they don't want any derivatives, any changes, adaptations of the work that are permitted. It must be shared the way that in its form that it's been created. It can be shared, but it has to stay that way. And this is something that we want to make sure that we are respectful of. All right. And you might know what this one is then. You might know what this one is. We probably don't even have to really do the drum roll on this one. But okay, Jenna, let's look. Oh, yay, we did have people write in. Good, good, good. It is non-commercial because when we think about commercial gains, we think about money. And so they are saying you can't make money off of this. And you can see one of these licenses on a product, or you might see up to all 4 of these licenses on a product. Well, no, you can't, because a share alike and a non-derivatives would not coexist because share alike allows adaptations and no derivatives does not. So really, you wouldn't see those 2 together unless it was just crazy and people didn't know exactly. But you would see up to 3 of these. And it's always making sure that we're respectful of how it was created in the first place. Jen and I also talked about how there are materials online that you'll find that don't have any of these licenses on them. And technically, they're not really OERs, technically, if they don't have these licenses on them. But it's something that I wanted you to be aware of because there's lots of things out there that we think, oh, I'll just take this or I'll just take that. And we do want to be a little bit careful about the materials that we would access in those ways. Jenna, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you make it a really good call out that you have to have that lens that I'm looking for something that has this license, because just because it has nothing doesn't mean that it's freely licensed and we can all use it. The assumption that I always operate under is if it doesn't have a CC license, I'm not going to use it, or I'm going to have to cite it very specifically, just like I would when I'm writing a paper. So we're going to talk about today where you can find OER specifically and even how to narrow your search lens to find these. But no, Laura, thank you for going over all of these and making that call out that share alike and no derivatives will never coexist. That's absolutely true. But then the non-commercial can bounce around between all of them. Awesome. Thanks. So that was our recap of basically what we covered last week. And honestly, or 2 weeks ago now, there's a lot of confusion about what is an OER. A lot of individuals, myself included, thought OERs were simply just textbooks that we could find online. That is just one small portion of OERs. And it's really cool to kind of see all the different resources that are out there. So we're going to explore some reliable repositories and databases that we even use here at CCIT, so you can help find OERs that are specific to your subject area. So it is always a popular question to us. I know we're even guilty here of saying, let's use OERs. And first, it's like, well, what does that mean? And second is, where do I find them? So there's many resources available, and we've kind of chunked them into 4 categories to get started. So we have OER repositories, open textbooks, multimedia, and then advanced search features. With OER repositories, they're essentially centralized platforms that take a variety of different OER resources, such as course materials, videos, maybe micro-credential courses, and it's all housed in these OER repositories. Open textbooks are essentially what they sound like. They're freely accessible textbooks that are peer-reviewed and published with an open license, which allows for free use, sometimes adaptations, or sometimes it's non-derivatives. It's really important to call out about the quality of OERs, because I know that this question comes up often, or there's a common misconception that OERs aren't of quality. And we're going to talk about that more in our next session about how to vet OERs. But OERs are traditionally peer-reviewed by experts in the field, similarly to how publishers create their textbooks. So stay tuned to the next session on OERs if you have some more questions about vetting the quality of those. So multimedia can include things like videos, images, audio, or even interactive tools, some really cool simulations that have been developed over time that can enhance the learning experience. And finally, advanced search features is such a great hack. I know personally, I'm guilty of going to Google, typing in a buzzword, and trying to find an image and just taking it. I've done that in the past until I became educated about giving credit to the rightful owner and also locating Creative Commons licenses to ensure that I can use that image in my work. So we're going to talk about how to use those advanced features so you can find them more easily. So these are just some popular OER repositories. I know I'm a frequent visitor of OER Commons. They are just digital libraries that offer a wide range of resources across every discipline you could ever imagine. They're often curated by educational institutions or organizations, which really help us trust in their quality and relevance. Some of the repositories include platforms that specialize in specific subject areas, or they offer cross-disciplinary resources too. If you think about like a thematic unit, it's a really nice touch. Open textbooks provide affordable alternatives to traditional textbooks, reducing the financial burden on our students. They can often be customized to fit specific course needs, allowing instructors to adapt the content to their teaching style or the course objectives, because we are unique here at Delaware Tech. Many open textbooks are available in multiple formats. It includes digital and print, so it can accommodate different learning preferences. We really want to emphasize that open textbooks are a growing movement in higher education, and many institutions are adopting them as part of their initiatives to reduce student cost. I'm going to use a very candid example. OpenStax, we were working on some course designs, and one of the textbooks from OpenStax is almost identical to that of the text of a well-known publisher. And then it was brought to our attention, and I don't know if this person's in here today, that even some publishers now are starting to offer OER versions of their content because I think they're seeing this competitive nature of OERs, which I think also attests to their quality, that publishers are even having to pivot because they are so worried about the competitive nature of OER textbooks. And then multimedia platforms, like I mentioned, they can include videos, podcasts, interactive simulations, the list goes on. And it's really nice to think about from that lens of universal design for learning. When I'm designing a course, I don't want it to be just text heavy. I don't want it to be only videos. I want a mixture of multimedia and text to really support my students in how they learn best. So you can easily integrate different multimedia elements into your courses, and even your lectures, right? Your delivery of the content. I know we have many face-to-face, hybrid, HyFlex courses. So you can even use these resources to design your presentations that you're delivering to your students as well. These platforms often encourage collaboration so that educators can create, share, and remix content, and you can also contribute to that community as well. And finally, my favorite hack that I wish I had known so much sooner was using the advanced features in search engines. So you can narrow the filters down by subject, education level, format, license type, and the list goes on. When you're searching, you can use some of those key search phrases by using like and, or, not. That's just good research. But you also have the option to change the usage rights. And under the usage rights in the image on the screen, you can filter by license. So it's free to use, free to share, free to free to modify even commercially. So you can narrow in that search right from the get-go. Because like Laura spoke to, it's sometimes hard to know, is it an OER or not, if they don't blatantly put that licensing logo somewhere where you can find. So starting from the advanced search features can really help get your scope to OERs right from the start. And I'm always going to throw in our shameless plug of this wonderful open educational resources reference guide. Other individuals of our CCI team have built this incredible resource, and it's updated annually to give you just some background information about OERs, but there's also an entire section about locating OERs and has links to all of the different repositories, textbooks, and resources that we've chatted about today. So at the end of this session, we'll make sure you have that link. I know personally, I like to keep that bookmarked because I use it almost on a daily practice to go and find different resources to include in our work here. And I know we've done just a little taste tester of these different things, but do you happen to know the name of any OER platforms or repositories that we've either mentioned or shared a logo of, or do you have one of your own that you use? Feel free to put it in the chat for us. Right. I only know of OpenStax. I'll be honest, I was in that same bucket too. I feel like it's very popular and it has so many textbooks on there. A really cool new addition to OpenStax, throwing a shameless plug out there. They're even developing question banks that will integrate into D2L Breakspace with us. So it's really cool to see that even these OER textbooks are finding ways to integrate into our LMS. Pixabay, yeah, Alice Pixabay is a great one. I've used Pixabay quite a few times as well. I know Flickr is a popular one. Merlot, I've used that one, the repository, not the beverage, but it's, you could do both, I guess. There's just so many out there. And I do want to say that you can leverage technology, and Dr. Thompson is going to share a lot about AI in the second section of our Lunch and Learn series this fall. But even for my own practice, I'm working with the awesome business department. I was able to go to ChatGPT and provide the syllabus, the CCPOs, the MPOs, the course description, and ask to help me make a compilation of OERs relevant to that course. Was everything perfect? Absolutely not. And that comes with that ethical use that I have to vet what ChatGPT is giving me, but it saved me so much time to narrow in these resources. Oh my gosh, Celeste, you're so right. There are so many colleges that use repositories too. And Celeste, I think you mentioned last time, and I've seen your courses, you guys already leverage so much of OERs in a lot of the courses. So that's awesome to see the experience that you guys have there. I love it.
Jessica pointed out Khan Academy, and I'm trying to remember if that qualifies because of the licensing or not. I don't recall if they use a CC license, Creative Commons license.
Let me see if I can look. I know it's a free resource.
Yeah, so technically, I don't know if it's a resource that can be used or if it's technically an OER. I don't know.
I have something that I found. It says that some courses in Khan Academy are licensed as CC BY, and it will specifically mention that. So Khan Academy is essentially its own repository of a variety of creators making that content, similarly to study.com. So it says that the courses that do have Creative Commons license will explicitly mention it. That was a great call out, Jess. Cool.
Jessica put a question mark after that. So
I
I'm
know.
glad that she brought that up.
I had a question mark myself too. Oh, I love it.
And
All
there's
right.
one I just discovered yesterday that I'm still looking at and making sure how much I like it, but it's called Oasis. And it is one, and I found that there's an integration at other institutions, kind of like how Celeste had said other institutions have things. When I did a search for Oasis, I saw I just put the link that I had from the presentation I saw yesterday into the chat. But when I did a search for Oasis before I found that link, I found that, for instance, Stony Brook College has embedded that. So I don't know, Alice is here. Do we have that in our library here or not? Do you know? You
Um,
can, oh,
do,
she's on, okay, good.
so you're asking if we have any OERs library? Is that what you're saying?
Well, one question would be, do we have a repository at the college about those OERs? And I had messaged you about that, and you said you were finding out about that. The other one was there's an Oasis integration that I've seen at other places. I didn't know if we have that here or not.
As far as I know, no.
Okay,
And we at the library, we do not have a repository. That is
okay.
something that we are considering working on in the future. But yes, it's something that's in the talks.
Terrific. Okay. Thank you so much. I always like to talk about our in-home resources too that we have right here. So thank you very much for that. All right, so we talked about being able to find those OERs. Now, when we're using them in our work or in our courses, anything like that, we need to know how we're going to attribute those OERs. And attribution basically means that we are giving credit to the original creators and we're following whatever licensing is put onto the OERs, however it's been designated. So let's go ahead and break that down. Here's a quote that leads us into that discussion where we're really thinking about acknowledging where information comes from because we're really showing respect for the intellectual work of those who came before us. So even though many OERs allow for adaptations, or sometimes it's called remixing, that we're allowed to use pieces and parts. We want to make sure that we are giving proper attribution, just one, because it's ethical to say, hey, we got this information from someplace else, and then we did cool stuff with it. But it's another thing to just be able to be respectful of each other also. So when we're attributing OERs, this is a lot like when we're thinking about citations. And really, I see echoes of APA when I look at this. So we see a title. We need to give the name of the material if it's provided. It's not always a clear title for it, but when it's provided, we want to make sure that we note that. Names of the authors. And maybe it's a little bit like APA. Sometimes you can't always locate the author, but you're going to try the best you can. Or sometimes it's a weird @ symbol somebody for the author. It depends on what it is. You want to give the source. So was there a website where you found it, or was there a document where that it can be found? We want other people to be able to locate that original source. So in case they want to remix from that original source, if that is allowable, they can do that. And again, we want to make sure that we note the type of license. And in general, there are formatting guidelines. We're going to look at a few of those now. So this one, Brian mentioned OpenStax for us, and here is an example. So this is an accounting book, and if you were here a couple weeks ago, some of these slides might look a little familiar, but they bear repeating here because we're looking at them through a different lens now. This OpenStax has a CC BY, a CC non-commercial, and CC share alike, which means, right, that we need to give credit to the CC BY as we give credit to the original creators. We can't make any money off of it. And we need to share alike. So whatever we do with this, whatever remixing we do, we have to also license that as share alike following after this, because we're trying to pay it forward. But you'll notice at the bottom of the screen that there's the name of it, Principles of Accounting, Volume 1, Financial Accounting, and it's licensed under CC BY, and that NC is non-commercial and SA is share alike. And you'll notice that they are underlined. Those are hyperlinks. So when it's available in a digital format, those can be clicked to be able to explore those resources or explore those licenses. So those are some important things that you can do to help give attribution. Let's look at another one. So we mentioned Flickr because Alice had mentioned Pixabay and Jenna mentioned Flickr. This one, you can see it's a CC BY, so you do want to give credit to the creator, but it's a non-derivative, so we can't do anything to it except show it. We can't change the color or anything like that. We need to present it in the way that it was created. But you'll notice that the title of this is a monochrome beauty, and we have the author there who created this, who took this picture, and that it's licensed under CC BY ND, and we have a 4.0 there too. So that way we have the ability to link to that actual license, and we have the ability to link to the original source. Remember, in the digital world, it's nice that we can provide those links to help increase the attribution, increase the quality of the attribution that we give. All right, and how about one more? And here we have the OSCQR scorecard. It's affectionately called Oscar. You can kind of see that in there. This is something that was created to help with course design review for online courses, being able to look at them, and it helps us to be able to look at the way our courses are designed, what qualities there are. There are several pages to this, by the way. This is a CC BY. CC BY means we only have to give credit to Oscar. We can change it. We can modify the language to whatever we feel fits our environment. So this is the least restrictive, but you'll notice at the bottom, there's the name of it, who it's by. It was by the SUNY Online Learning, and it's licensed under CC BY. Which leads us to the next one. Because it was CC BY, we said, hey, we like this idea, this Oscar, but we want to make it work for Delaware Tech. So you'll notice the attribution at the bottom that it says it was the Oscar scorecard by SUNY Online Learning, but it was remixed by Delaware Tech CCIT and is licensed under CC BY, non-commercial, share alike. Because when we did this, and Jason, he's in here, he always loves it when I call him out when he comes to these things, but you don't have to say anything, Jason, but he wanted to help make it more interactive for us. So the scorecard itself is something that can be printable. I mean, it could be made into an Excel the way that it was, but we want to make it more interactive. So this is something, if you've gone through your course review at all, then this is a tool that we can use to help foster that communication. So that is why he wanted to make sure that this could be something that's more interactive, not just static. We put the information in and it populates in different areas for us and helps us really be an enriched, useful tool for us. But we wanted to CC BY, so we would like the recognition that this was created here in-house. We don't want anyone to make money off of it, though. This is something we're providing as a resource. We don't want any commercial qualities to that at all. And if people are going to use it, we want them, even if they remix it a bit, we want them to be able to share it and pay it forward. So that's what those licenses mean for us. So just to kind of think about, okay, where do these go? So we looked at it, how it could look on the bottom of a slide. Now we need to look at it maybe in these different resources. So in Creative Commons materials, we want to be able to cite those. If we use it in a document, or if we are citing a document or an image, we're trying to put the attribution next to the material where we use it, or at least as a footer on the bottom of the page. So that way it's easily identifiable that that license belongs to that material. We want to make sure that it's easily noticeable. And that's why for an image, you might see it almost right below the caption area. If there's a caption or instead of a caption, you would have it there. If it's, again, in our written documents or in any of our D2L Brightspace pages, that we would put it next to the information, or sometimes we have those little call out boxes at the bottom. We might make the attribution there with an obvious connection to where it was on the page. Then if we think about our slideshows, we saw an example there that Jenna had artfully created those pages where it showed very clearly that those images or those documents had come from a specific place with its license. For videos, you want to display the attribution on screen at the same time that the material is shown. So if you're making a video, that is something that you can edit it so that you can put in that text on the location where you've used it. Sometimes if you're doing a YouTube, you can put a little comment boxes that will pop up too at different areas of your video. So those are places that you could insert it there, and you can make sure that it was in the comments as well, or in the description for the video as well, to make sure that it's there. The reason you want it to appear on screen, or that you would mention it in your video, is so that it's directly related specifically to that information, so it's easily identifiable. And then there's podcasts. I don't know, I think we have a couple of podcasts going on at the college, at least at the course level, but you want to verbally mention that artist name and note that the work is created under Creative Commons. And then of course, I think too much sometimes, I think, but I mentioned to Jen, I said, well, what about though, if you have a transcript of the podcast, because that's an accessible thing to do, to provide those words from the podcast so that if anyone can't listen to it, they can still get the information from it. I said, how would you list it in there? And there would be a way, maybe with brackets or something like that, that you would make sure that you could put the attribution in the podcast transcript, even, and noting that it wasn't specifically that detailed in the verbal, actually what the people talked about. You reference it in the podcast, but you might not have every little digit of that attribution. But you could include it in the transcript and just have it noted that it's not said with brackets. But proper attribution, again, just to underline that, it really honors the work of the others, and it upholds the principles of openness and respect in our educational community. So this is a lovely thing that we're all able to share, and these non-proprietary items. So, quiz time. What's included in OER attribution? Can you think of at least one thing you need to include in that OER attribution? An extra credit if you think of them all. Yes, we definitely need to have that author in there. What else can you think of? Title, website, beautiful. And there was one more. The license, yes, perfect, yay. So we want to make sure, like I said, it reminds me so much of APA or MLA or whatever you want to think about for citations. It really isn't that different. And I love it, Carol. We can also provide that hyperlink when it's online so that people can get to that original resource. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Hi, Alice.